Hello everyone and welcome. So in this video I will talk about the hero's journey that is specific for the divine feminine and which is also specific for the dark divine feminine. This is a specific journey that we go through as divine feminines when we allow our inner dark feminine to come through and when we want to embody this aspect of ourselves. So, welcome, my name is Valeria, and in this channel we talk about spirituality and esoterics. So, I am going to be explaining about this journey, some kind of stages that we experience, but is a journey that happens in layers. So it's not like only one time that you experience what I am going to share. And I am going to also mention how different goddesses, archetypes often appear in your life when you are experiencing some of those stages, why they appear, how you can work with them. Also, I am going to I will share about my experience with work because it explains how we work with these stages, how our dark goddess wants to be embodied in ourselves. So if you're interested, please stay with me. Remember to subscribe to this channel to receive very interesting videos about the esoterics of this reality. So let's go with this topic, which is very interesting. So this is an aspect that I profoundly believe that every woman who is going through the path of awakening, especially Kundalini awakening into enlightenment, you're a twin soul, you will experience this in one moment or another. Because we all have our inner dark feminine, which are like specific aspects of the divine feminine. Um, and this journey of ascension towards unity with God. This is a journey of wholeness. You must become whole. And to become whole in yourself, you have to accept and integrate and embody all the aspects of yourself. And this includes the dark aspects of the divine feminine and the dark, the word dark, of course, it doesn't mean bad, okay? It means aspects that we and society kind of threw away to the shadows because someone decided that those were bad, okay? And this started with the myth of Adam. Remember that we have Adam, Lilith, and Eve, and this myth, the real myth, is that Lilith was the first wife of Adam and they were equal, okay? But she didn't want to submit herself to him. And so basically, she left paradise in order to be free and to be true to herself. Okay, because he didn't want her to be equal to him. He wanted to be more than her. So every woman's dark feminine hero's journey starts like this. It starts when you choose to leave your paradise, when you choose to leave something safe or comfortable that doesn't honor your truth, the truth and the authenticity of who you are, when you don't feel respected. Again, there are different archetypes and different goddesses or deities representing and embodying different stages or moments of this journey, because these are different initiations, and if you are more or less aware of it, they will appear in your life in those moments, depending on the initiation that you are facing. A specific goddess will appear in your life and will call you, and it's often the goddesses and the deities that humanity kind of threw into the shadow as someone bad. Okay, so they tell you this is someone that you don't want to embody. Okay, so this journey usually starts with Lilith, because you must leave something that maybe feels safe, but it's not honoring you. Maybe you don't feel respected or you are not free. Like, you cannot be the goddess that you are. Think that Lilith left paradise because she was not honored and respected. And some people would think that she went against God, but she didn't. Actually, God created her knowing what she was going to choose. God knew Lilith was going to rebel against oppression. That is why she's the original divine feminine, and not Eve, okay? And also God made you knowing what you are going to choose. Okay? God knows that you, the divine feminine watching this, you are going to rebel against disrespect, against people who are not honoring. And this is how we're going to start this journey of the dark goddess, a journey into the underworld. Okay, we have some stories like Inanna going through the 7 gates into the underworld, and on each gate losing something until she's naked. We have Isis when she loses her divine counterpart and she has to find the pieces and bring him to life again. We have Persephone going into the underworld, and it's interesting when you see this story with her not as a victim but as a queen of the underworld. Of course, we have Venus and planet Venus, which ascends and descends as morning star. Venus, like encompassing all the goddesses and the attributes and the archetypes in a way. So you live something and you can feel the power after that. The power of Kali, goddess, destroying what no longer serves you. She usually destroys relationships, friendships, jobs, whatever is on the way of you embodying this inner goddess, basically. Okay, because then after that you can start from a clean state, and you have to choose something new. You have to choose a new path. You have to choose a direction. And this point is very important because a lot of times we think that the divine is just resting, sleeping, or like Aphrodite, maybe eating and being served and being the muse. And that is a part of the divine feminine, but also you have to make choices. You have to move. In my experience, when I am not sure what to do, or I am taking too long to make a choice, or I doubt a lot what I am doing, Hecate has appeared on my way. And Hecate is like this deity who works with soul integration. She is not only a goddess of the crossroads, or the keys, or the door, or the choices. She is all about soul embodiment and soul integration. And I always see 333 when she's calling. And she reminds you of your authenticity. Uh, she wants you to make a choice that honors your soul. But she reminds you that you must move and choose something. It's better to make a choice and then try to figure out instead of waiting forever, okay? Also, she's goddess of witchcraft, but she's mainly a goddess related with the embodiment of the soul. It's about starting to make the choices that allow your soul. Think that you left paradise because it was not really paradise, it was not honoring you. Then you lost some things were destroyed in your life because they were not serving you, and now you have the opportunity to choose something different. Okay, and so you make this choice, and then you learn to set boundaries and to protect your path, to protect yourself, to protect your new path, your new self. Um, and it is not that much about reinforcing boundaries as it is about settling very deep energetic boundaries, so deep that others can sense without the need to talk about it. And this is an art, and usually it takes time. Um, Okay, and also in this kind of stage, you usually learn how to be more the feminine, more magnetic, more receptive. Okay, and usually that feels kind of good, but after this, at some point, you must integrate your shadow, the very deep shadow, not the surface shadow. I mean the very deep that you didn't want to see, maybe. This is why this is the underworld hero's journey. And it's all about the divine feminine, which means the parts of us that we have rejected because society said that they were wrong, that we were too much. And it can be anything, maybe parts of you that want more money, that want to have maybe multiple partners, the part that wants to create something specific. Whatever it is, you must honor it and you must give it space and acceptance. A lot of times, this is about us feeling very much. Like if we are ourselves and we live the life we want, um, we are afraid of being cast out, of not belonging because of this. And you have to really love this part of you, but I mean really, really, not to pretend. And it's not enough with, maybe visualizing and sending love and pink light. It's not that much about that as it is about your day-to-day, daily acceptance of this part of you, how you show up. You know, this part of you also sometimes is the part that feels very sad or feels broken inside, okay? And you know how beautiful is someone who has integrated this part of them, this part that is broken inside, instead of denying it or instead of trying to pretend happiness every day. So you accept all the parts of yourself, and then it's like your eyes start to reflect that back into other people, and they feel permission to also honor and accept and love all the parts of themselves, especially the ones that are not what society expects. Because society expects, especially a woman, to be so happy and so kind and everything is fine. And that's usually not how life works. Sometimes also here in this kind of state, you will experience some very ugly, shitty things. Okay, I want to be clear. Think that Persephone, for example, goes into the underworld for soul integration. But in a way, she's tricked, In a way, she's not, because she knows what is happening. And it's the same for us. Um, we are we learn to reclaim our power back. We usually in this stage we are taken advantage of, but on the subconscious we know we know that we are being used, we know that we are taking advantage of, and we are allowing it to happen. Okay. We must reclaim our power back. So it's like we know, but we don't know. And there are different feminine wounds or experiences we can have, like being robbed, being abused, rape, being forced to do something. There are very different expressions of this, but usually we experience things that look very unfair, okay? And we learn to protect ourselves better. And here you also have these stories in myth of different virgin priestesses, for example, that they were working in the ancient temples with immaculate conception and they were raped. This means that their rituals were interrupted. Um, this means in some cases that a priestess was working with her ritual and was raped in the subtle planes by some male god like Zeus. In some cases, it means that she was raped in the physical reality by some guy when she was working on the temple, for example. Um, it also represents ancient virgins, priestesses who were forced to start practicing rituals of procreation with males, with guys, because in the beginning she did it alone with the Mother Earth. Like a very pure. Here we have stories like Medusa, for example, of being punished because she was raped. And I mean, she was a priestess working in the temple, and it looks very unfair what happened to her. But she takes back her power, she reclaims her sovereignty, and she gets this skill of turning others into stone with her gaze, with her eyes. And she doesn't ask, she doesn't give a second chance. She doesn't doubt her first intuition. She doesn't ask the guys, like, what are your intentions? She just knows, and she learns to protect herself without the need of some guardian or father figure or a husband or whatever. It's like when everyone is against her, she doesn't give up. Okay? Comes from a very powerful lineage of healers. Um, and this is a very important skill. And there are technologies for this. I mean, these myths are myths for a reason. There is a lot of truth or reality to them. So when you do this, you also start to discover more of your specific gifts and skills from your inner divine feminine. And they become stronger because you are choosing yourself and you are learning them to transmute. It's then the next stage will be transmuting. This means that you can use whatever happens in your life to turn your life into something better. You're the alchemist. And it means that you don't avoid difficult situations, challenges, interacting with other people, putting yourself out there, trying something new, because you know that you can use everything for your growth and evolution. And here you are seen as someone very brave because you don't choose from fear anymore. You are confident in yourself and in God and on Mother Earth. Okay? And here's when you are able to start taking the real leaps of faith. When you are able to start following call from God and your higher self. Because you learn that whatever happens when you are following your purified soul is okay. You can handle that. And you can use it to thrive and to grow. And then one very, very important part of this journey of the dark feminine is that you must die. A part of you must die, like a second death. And this is maybe the most important part, and a part that a lot of people will wait and wait in this stage, in the door, in the gate, because they don't want to die, because the ego doesn't want this to happen, but you have to. So here we have, for example, Inanna, who is traveling through the gates, and on each gate she loses something like jewelry, garments, clothes, and in the last gate she stands naked. She has surrendered everything. So here is when you surrender everything. And I want to mention my recent experience as an example. Okay, it's not completely recent, but war is recent. So, but think in the past, some years ago, I had like basically all the things I wanted. I was living in a more or less safe country, and I had a place, and I was dedicated to my spiritual business. I was a very comfortable divine feminine. I was like in my inner Aphrodite, kind of. Every day I was working with essential oils and with beauty and eating super healthy and with my arts. And when I had my period, it was like I was in this temple and everything was so easy and so yummy and so good. But I was not embodying all my power yet. Okay, and to be honest, I felt like something was missing. It was like, from the outside, this life was looking very, very good, probably, but I was feeling quite empty. And then it was like God and my higher self called me to come to the Middle East and to live here and to have experiences. And anyways, this was some years ago, so a lot of things happened, which is very long to explain. But I want to mention the recent experience with war because this was like a total, complete surrendering. As you probably know, Tehran was very attacked, which is the city, if you didn't know where I live. And even my building was partially hurt. Um, and when that was happening, which was like a long time, I could not leave the country actually. And in those moments, I had to stay here. And to be honest, I thought I was going to physically die. Um, you know, it was like I was naked in front of the gate, in front of God, and I had nothing. I didn't have like a escape plan for different reasons. I didn't have. And I surrendered my life to God like completely. And this is one of the very hard things I have done. But after that, it was like all my inner power came back. like 10 times, 20 times more strong. And because when you face the fear of dying, and especially fear of dying alone, it's like nothing external has power over you anymore. Okay? So at some point in your journey, you must surrender your life, basically. In a way that is God guided, to be clear. This is not when you are depressed and you don't want to live anymore. It's not about that. It's about like a very important experience, which is God guided, in which your ego actually wants to live, okay? And then you have to rebuild yourself. And this part also is so important because you understand and you must know and embody the fact that after a part of you dies, you are not less worthy. You are indeed gold, you know? You lose things. For example, I lost some things because of this experience. And some people may come from ego and think like, for example, oh, Valeria just went through this war. Maybe she cannot serve. Maybe she cannot be a good spiritual guide right now, or whatever. But indeed, it is because of this experience that now I am even more valuable than before to guide spiritually. Because when you pass this kind of initiations, it's like you have to gather yourself together again, but you don't throw away the pieces, because now it's like each of the pieces is old, okay? Because think of you, these are the parts that were with you when you passed the initiation. Okay, so you don't give up because of what happened. You don't think like, oh, now I am broken, I should destroy everything again. You don't think like that. You recognize that yes, you are broken, but all the little pieces now are more valuable than before because they are alchemized, they are gold. And maybe you experience your grief and it's fine, okay? But you never ever doubt your inner value. And whatever was lost now is replaced with something better, because now it's like authentic, because you went through the gate and you surrendered everything, because now you have the power, now you have the self-confidence, the experience, and you must share that, or you must do something with that. You must create something. You must go for what you want. This is also a way of self-love. Self-love is not only, giving yourself beautiful things and wearing creams. And because you went through this hell, through the inner world, through the underworld, and now you are your whole self. It's like you retrieved the pieces. And now you must ask yourself, okay, what I want. And you must go for that. And you start to build your dreams. And at some moment it's like you do it and you embody this so much that it becomes like self-contained, like a self-contained force. And this is, to be clear, this doing and trying is not coming from the toxic effort. It's not coming from this matrix effort. It's not like the fallen masculine effort, okay? It's not like, oh, I work so hard. It's not like that. It comes from a different place, okay? Because it's like a force on its own that is emanating from you. Think that now you are building from gold. All your pieces now are gold. So you don't need to try so hard because you embody that frequency, but you take actions, but they come from overflow. They come from because your cup, your inner cup, okay, is full. So you can give, you can take action, you can do things, but it's not coming from an empty cup. when people are always chasing from the masculine, the fallen masculine, they are coming from an empty cup, and that never works in the long run, okay? Because they don't have the life force. But because you took the golden pieces, now you have the life force, and it's coming from this place, okay? Um, and this is a very specific journey. It has nuances because the feminine wounds are very much universal, but it's also not a journey that a lot of people talk about, like the general hero's journey, everyone talks about. But this one, maybe you are in this journey and you don't know, and that is why I am making this video. Because some moments in this journey, some of the initiations are very difficult. And if you don't know what is happening, you may be, in this feeling like you cannot move, like everything is messed up, like you are really some sort of cosmic joke, to be honest. But behind the scenes, everything is working out because as you walk through each of these gates, you become the dark feminine, which is the most powerful part of the divine feminine. Here is when you really start to awaken into your inner power. And this doesn't come from only maybe deciding to work with Lilith, or wearing black clothes, or going to a dance class, or learning witchcraft, or wearing some makeup, Those are more like the consequences, maybe. But the real embodiment comes from facing your biggest ghosts and your biggest fears when it comes from the divine feminine. Um, Union, this is like the hardest part of the whole journey. Okay, so I'm going to give you some examples from my life in this video. Also, I want to mention that I have experienced in this life some situations in which, sometimes you are in abusive situations, but it is not so clear they are abusive. You're afraid of saying what you feel. Sometimes we try to lie to ourselves a little, but at the end, when your feminine is not given the space that she needs. And here you really, really should trust your intuition. The lesson here this is like the dark feminine lesson, which is the number one lesson and the most important one, which is that you should always prioritize your self-respect, even over physical safety. And I know that a lot of people will not agree with me because most people are afraid of dying, afraid of suffering, afraid of pain, and they always try to be safe before they can choose respect. But when you do that, it's like you are always in this cycle, repetitive cycle, and you can never leave because you are always saying like, oh, when I make more money, when I feel safe, I will respect yourself. But it's like vicious cycle because you are not making the choices that honor your value. It's like you continue being in the toxic situation, in the abusive situation, and you have to be very careful if you are in this situation. But I have experienced this kind of situation way too many times in this life. And I promise, every time when I have chosen myself, even when I didn't have a backup plan, I am like supported by the Mother Earth in some way. And it's not because you earn something, it is because is simply like energetics. It's because when you make a choice and when you take action, that action is reflecting what you believe about yourself and what you believe about life. If you leave a toxic situation, you are saying to the universe, to the Akashic records, to the subtle place, you are sending a message, and that message is I'm worthy and I deserve respect. And when you send that message and when you are embodying that blueprint, it's like the universe has to reflect that back to you. But if you are in for example, abusive situation and you continue in that situation, it's like every day you are saying to the subtle realms, you are saying, yes, this is what I deserve and I am okay with this, even if you are suffering inside and you are crying. And I know it's very difficult. I think this is the most difficult thing that we can experience in the divine feminine journey. And I want to also mention little story. For example, one time I was in a kind of abusive situation, but again, it was more like spiritually abusive. So I allowed myself to stay some time because I didn't have a backup plan. But it's like every day was getting worse, and I was really doubting myself a lot, and I started doubting God. I started to believe that God wanted me to, be in this um, place in which I was not respected. And so I didn't have like the money or a place, and I was in another country and I didn't have any help. But one day I was thinking like, yes, I should leave. And one day I was like walking in the street and I remember I saw this random girl, but I remember she looked at me like in a very direct way, and I knew it was not her, it was not the girl, but it was like the goddess, it was like Lilith coming through her eyes, and it was like this very piercing look. I had never seen a look like that before. And I received the message like she was telling me like leave, like, but in a very not soft, but in a very like, what are you waiting to leave? Like, leave. You could wait forever and the situation will not get better by magic. Sometimes you just have to leave, and this is the lesson of Lilith. And this is how the dark feminine journey starts. On that day I told them I was leaving. And after that, I promise, like maybe hours of that, I received like a lot of money that I was not expecting. And, but this was because this is how the divine feminine, the dark feminine works. You have to learn the lessons and you have to show that you learn the lessons. You have to take the risks and the leaps of faith. And the lesson is that you are always compensated when you choose yourself and when you choose your inner dark feminine, when you choose your authenticity. Okay, this is so important. And I know it's complicated sometimes, but and you are responsible for your choices. To be clear, I am not saying that you should leave your abusive situation right now, but I am sharing what I have learned and I hope this can help you. And please let me know what is something that you are needing right now in your divine feminine journey, in your dark feminine journey. What are some of the lessons that you have learned? I am very interested in hearing about that. And I will leave in the description box some information if you want to work with me in a deeper way. And thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here. It means a lot for me if some of you watch your completely, because I think this kind of video and information really can make the difference in the life of someone. Because again, this specific journey is not something that a lot of people talk about, and is very difficult, but it's the journey that gives you your power back. It's the most difficult one, but also is the one that will compensate you the most. Okay, so sending love your way, take care of yourself, and see you soon.